Hi, Aaliyah. How are you?
Hi, Stan.
Hi, good
How
morning.
are you?
I'm fine. How are you holding up?
Great, great. I moved you to a panelist. I just wanted to make sure because that will give you access to share your screen.
Yeah, I tried to share. Let me try it again. Um, and before I start, is it Aaliyah or Aliyah? How do you pronounce
Aaliyah.
your first name? Aaliyah. Okay,
Aaliyah,
thank you.
yes. And
Wanted to make
just
sure.
pronounce her last name for me.
Mirzwa.
Mirzwa, that's what I
Yeah,
thought it
like Mirzwa.
was. Mirzwa.
All right, I tried to share. It says sharing is not turned on.
Ah,
I sent you my
All right,
latest in case
it's
there's any
turned on now.
issues.
It's
Oh,
turned
it's
on.
on now? Oh, hey,
perfect.
Muhammad.
Hey,
All right, let me oh, there we go. All right, terrific.
Great, great, great. Okay, perfect. So you have your slides. Wonderful.
Yeah. And honestly, I know there's an hour, but I'm hoping to go maybe 30, 35 minutes, and then I want to pose some questions for the audience. Maybe we get some responses, or perhaps there may not be any input, but I want to give some time for the audience to speak. But if there isn't much at the end as far as content, then we would end a couple minutes early if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, we this is actually the same link. There's two links we have for day two. So the next session, one of the 11 o'clock sessions will also be on this link. So there may be
Okay.
a few that will be joining if they wanted to attend the next session. So that's fine. This link will just continue throughout the day
Okay.
for the other subsequent sessions. But yeah, we're hoping to at least get up until the next presenter starts. So
Okay. That's fine.
yeah.
But it might also be good to have a little bit of a transition time between the two, just in case
Yeah,
folks want to get
yeah,
up. Okay,
definitely.
sounds good.
Definitely. Do you want to give it another 2 minutes to allow? We have about 2 minutes till 10, so see if
Yeah,
anyone
no,
else
give it a few
joins.
minutes in case folks are just
Okay, great.
moving from one activity to another.
Great, great. How's your semester going so far?
It's great. It's good. Busy and eventful, which is terrific.
Hmm.
And it's super. The students are very engaged, and I love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
plus the
there's
weather's
this.
been terrific. What's
Oh,
that?
oh, yeah. I mean that definitely helps.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We haven't
It
had a
does.
rainy, or cold fall, so it's been pleasant to
It has been. Yeah, I have to say I'm not quite ready for the frigid cold and the snow and the ice. So
yeah.
I'm very happy with this, with the weather so far.
How about you? How is your semester going?
Great. It's great. Honestly, there's such an energy in the air to the fall. Like it just, there's a different pace to the academic year. The fall, there's just something about new students coming back. The season is just it's great. We're not in again the frigid temperatures. So there's still that buzz going around on campus, which I love. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful.
But it's great. It's been busy. So yeah.
I was able to attend some of the sessions yesterday in between classes and meetings, but it was good. It looked like at least I was in the initial kickoff session, which I think
Yeah.
was it seemed like it was well attended, given all the Q&A that
Yeah, it has been.
arose.
It has been. We had a great, great day one. So we're hoping to keep the momentum. Today we actually have for each hour we have simultaneous sessions. So a little bit different than yesterday. Yesterday there was just one per hour.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's fine, and that's perfect. Are we seeing attendance from outside of the Kane community as well?
absolutely, absolutely. So
Mm.
right on theme with our global theme. We have presenters and also attendees from across the globe. It's actually quite phenomenal.
All
So
right.
yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, do you want to give it another moment or so? There's a few people that just
Yep, let's give it a few minutes
perfect.
or a minute or two. That's fine.
Okay.
I can't recall if this is my second or third, or is it, well, maybe I should ask, is this the third OER conference in total?
The fifth.
The fifth. Oh
The
my.
fifth.
Okay.
I know
So
I can't remember, but you've
no, I
presented
think I
two
did
of
one
them.
prior, so this might be the second for me.
Maybe the third. No?
Third? Okay. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like you've presented at a few so far. So this is great. So welcome back. It
No, this is a terrific
is.
yeah, and it pushes us as well to continue to keep OER in focus and
Absolutely.
hopefully today I'll talk about developing more OER resources.
Yeah, absolutely. In keeping with and aligning with our just at Kane University, our strategic plan of reducing equity gaps for students. So I think it's a really important topic. So we're very happy to have you
Absolutely.
back. Would you like to get started? We have a couple more
Yeah,
people that
sure.
just
Let's
added.
go.
Okay, wonderful. So again, welcome back. I am thrilled to be moderating this morning session. It's our first for day 2, so I hope everyone on the call has been enjoying the conference thus far. And I believe I actually moderated for you in the past. So again, welcome back. My name is Leah Chisuli. I am the Associate Director of Operations here at Kane University for the Nancy Thompson Learning Commons, and I am on the Open Access Committee. And so I will be, again, moderating today's session, and I'm very thrilled to be introducing our presenter this morning on the topic of empowering communities, how outreach creates open access resources. So our presenter is Dr. Stanley Mirzwa. Dr. Stanley Mirzwa is currently serving as the director and lecturer of the Center for Cybersecurity within Transformational Learning and External Affairs at Kane University. Stan is the point of contact for the university's National Security Agency Center of Academic Excellence in Cybersecurity Cyber Defense designation, the NJ InfraGard, FBI public/private partnership, higher education special interest group leader, and a member of the New Jersey State and Local Cybersecurity Grant Program Planning Committee. He has significant international experience, having worked on the ground across Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Europe. So without further ado, Dr. Mirzwa.
Thank you, Aliyah, and good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope everybody is well, and I appreciate you taking time out of your days to join this session. Uh, yeah, and I hope this, is helpful to you, and hopes, and one of my hopes is that it actually inspires some ideas that you can pursue. So quickly, I want to just thank you again to the committee for inviting me to speak. As I was getting ready for this event today, I realized this is the second or third time uh, I presented, and I'm very happy. This conference to me is important, and it helps actually keep in focus for me and our group the OER importance to both Kane University and also to our students. I want to give a shout out to the Kane Library and the Digital Commons. They're always helping me out and our team. And quite honestly, you'll see from some of the slides, without them, I don't think we would have been as active or successful. They're very helpful to me and to our group when we are, whenever we bring up questions, it seems they always seem to respond quite quickly with valuable resources. So today I'll quickly tell you about myself for those who don't know me, tell you about our Center for Cyber. We'll get into community outreach and some of our activities in that area. And then I think most important, we will bring up the resources that we've made accessible. Honestly, and some of those resources have led to things we didn't expect, some surprises, and I'll share that with you all today. We'll tell you the model we employ when it comes to considering open access and open educational resources. And then I'll leave some time at the end for some discussion and Q&A. I have a few questions I'll bring up uh, to the attendees, and I hope you might weigh in and even bring up some suggestions and areas where you've been able to create some resources that you wish to share with the community. Let's see. So myself, as Aaliyah mentioned, I've been at Kean University. This is my sixth year. I'm very happy to be here, but I come from a very strong technical professional background. I spent over 25 years in information technology, and I've worked across the gamut of different types of work roles. As Aaliyah mentioned, what's really shaped my view is my international work. I've spent a lot of time on the ground in many parts of the globe, and that really shaped how I pursue and approach technology projects. I like to consider the entire globe as a community with any project that we undertake. Let's see. This work, I have to give credit to many different people because it isn't just me. Although I'm here speaking, none of this happens in a vacuum. And I won't go through all the names, but you'll see we have folks from certainly leadership at Kean University, the John S. Watson Institute for Urban Policy and Research. And then we have a lot of community partners, BCT partners, Dr. Randall Pinkett, Willie Mae Vesey from Covenant Business Partners, Deborah Price. These were individuals very instrumental in some of the resources that I'll be showing you here today. We have our Center for Cybersecurity. We have a few graduate assistants and also an academic specialist. And then we really utilize quite a few students. Students from LEAP and CURF. These are scholarship programs here at Kean University. Kean Career Services. I can't do any of this type of work without their input, help, and guidance. The Department of Computer Science and Technology and the Department of Criminal Justice and Public Affairs. It's a terrific collaboration with our unit, and between Dr. Moriali and Dr. McManaman, we're able to really move forward even better. IT, Kean IT, lots of student workers in that area, and they've been instrumental in some of the resources that I'll share with you today. And then lots of different, and I only listed two here, the FBI InfraGard and New Jersey ISC2. These are two nonprofit groups in the state that really focus on cyber information security and critical infrastructure security. We do a lot of work in partnering with them. So our center, I encourage you to visit us at Heinz Hall. We're on the fifth floor. Please feel free to stop by anytime or write me if you'd like to make an appointment. We'd love to share our resources, but also talk about any questions you may have. Or, quite honestly, I get lots of students that come to our center unsure about internships or career paths or courses. And so we help try to, answer questions and certainly be a resource for the students. As Aaliyah mentioned, we are a national security agency, Center of Academic Excellence designated institution. For those who may not be aware, of the 4,000 to 5,000 colleges in the United States, there's only about 400 of them that are designated by the NSA, which means we meet their rigorous guidelines and application process. It's a process that takes about 9 months to a year to complete. And between our Department of Computer Science, Department of Criminal Justice, and Transformational Learning and External Affairs, we've been able to obtain that. And we have to reapply. It's something that you have to do every 5 years. So we have to do that again next year. We are also a U.S. Cyber Command school, which means we're part of their academic engagement network. This is something that we recently just acquired. Quickly, because you may wonder, hey, what are the cyber programs at Kane? We have quite a few. We have a computer science program. We have a information technology program. We have a criminal justice cyber program. And we have a new cybercrime minor. I have that in the little blurb to the right there in the bottom. That's just been made available. Thankful to the university and the leadership for having that get approved. And we're also pursuing a new cyber security risk management certificate. Anyway, we're guided by a board of advisors. These are external individuals. Some are Kane University graduates, which is terrific, having alum, and they help guide us in our work. I won't go so much into our strategy. But anyway, couple things about community outreach. First of all, we have no choice but to pursue community outreach in our Center for Cybersecurity. This is a pillar of the NSA program. In fact, they question us every single year. We have to provide evidence of our community outreach in order to stay in the program. And so this is important. Important enough that they actually have an award that they give out every year. And quite honestly, and I'm boasting for Kane University that we've been awarded the Community Service Award in 2023. And we were recognized in 2024 this past year as well. And so this is something that is an important aspect, not just to us and our students, but across the nation. So let's see, resources. First of all, we have a one-stop shop, and I encourage anyone that has any open educational resources, you certainly share it with your digital library team. But we also have a resource through Learning Commons, and we post all of our resources on that site. And I think that also helps us keep it organized, but available to the community, available at large. And in fact, I'll share with you a little later. I have a graphic of and this is a terrific thing. We can see where our resources have been acquired across the globe. And this is very interesting and an important concept because if you're making any sorts of resources available, you want to make sure it's easily obtainable, but also kind of keep track of that. And I think we've been able to do that through the Digital Learning Commons. So I encourage you, if you're not familiar with that, it's a little shout out to our library and maybe each of the libraries. I know we have individuals from different institutions online, and perhaps you can also pursue that. So the first one, I want to give credit to, this was a project that was funded by the United States Small Business Administration. We received funding through the SBA to create in the state of New Jersey a regional small business accelerator and cybersecurity assessment program. So what is that? There are lots of individuals who want to start a business or an organization, but they're not exactly sure how to go about doing it in a organized and methodical manner. And so as part of this grant, this was a collective team, a community team. You'll notice we have partners from organizations outside of Kane. In fact, we also had Rutgers that was originally a partner, their small business administration unit in Newark, New Jersey. And in fostering small businesses, we also took the opportunity to do cybersecurity risk assessments. And what is that? We would help these small businesses understand what are their cyber risks? Are there areas that they're not paying attention to that can actually hamper their goal of growing, right? When you're a small business, perhaps one of your goals is to become a larger business. And so this program was funded over several years. And because of that, we started from scratch, right? We had to build, first of all, an accelerator training program. That was not our Kane Center for Cybersecurity, but our cyber unit was involved in creating the assessment program. Now, the importance of this is lots of these individuals, and I don't have the number here, but over the past 2 years, we assessed over 40 small businesses in the New York, New Jersey area, mostly New Jersey. These also include nonprofits and faith-based organizations. So we brought attention to these small operations about the importance of cybersecurity. As a matter is as a really as a matter of evolution. In our second year, and this was and so this is an open educational resource. Let me mention this. This is available on so this community outreach, community work we were doing to the small business segment. We wrote about it and we outlined the details of this, and then we got it published. So this work was published, peer reviewed, and now it's available for others to reference or learn from. But we shared our experiences, both good and bad. Some things that didn't go so well. In our second year, we realized the importance of generative AI. I know there was discussion yesterday about AI. And so we created and this is an open educational resource for the small business area or segment, examples of using generative AI, why they might consider using generative AI. What is it? There are many small businesses we realized during our cyber risk assessments that we're not familiar with these tools that have been growing so quickly. And so we created, and I'm grateful to our university relations team because they helped us put together a nice booklet, which is now an open educational resource. And the importance of that is, well, one thing leads to another. At UC Berkeley, there is a group that runs something called the Consortium of Cybersecurity Clinics. So they realized they got wind. We received a little bit of attention in some press, but they realized our materials were publicly available. So they contacted us in our center and said, hey, Kean University, we would love for you to be part of our consortium because you have resources that can be shared with other institutions across the nation. And so we were welcomed in. I give a lot of credit to this group at UC Berkeley. And you'll notice there's a few members I list here. We're listed with Indiana University and Louisiana State University, but they have several colleges that are founding members in an active clinic. So we're an active clinic because we're actually doing these cybersecurity risk assessments. They were this group, the consortium, were valuable to us because they made us realize the work we're doing can be considered something of a clinic. Think of a clinic, a medical clinic, but this is surrounding cyber. So there are many smaller educational institutions and some larger who want to create a program, and they're leaning on others that have established programs. And UC Berkeley thought, hey, you have an established program, you might be valuable. So we're helping the community with this open educational resource that we made available through the SBA project. We have a clinic web page here at Kean University, and some of you maybe online are familiar with clinics in your own states. We're the only clinic in the state of New Jersey, and I'm grateful to the John S. Watson Institute, Barbara George Johnson, and Alex Rivera, because we worked together to set up the original cybersecurity risk assessment program through the US SBA funding. Other things, well, one thing leads to another. As I mentioned earlier, I have lots of students that work in our Center for Cybersecurity. They're both scholarship recipient students, but also interns. And every semester we get a new batch of interns, and sometimes we have returning students. And what we realized in doing the SBA work and the cybersecurity risk assessments is that nonprofits were not being met with cyber risk assessments. So we began to, and this was with approval from the donor, to do risk assessments of the nonprofit and non-governmental organization sector. Now, the important thing here is that while we were doing these assessments of these, many were faith-based organizations, we recognized there wasn't a go-to data set that outlined what the numbers of attacks are, cyber attacks against the nonprofit and non-governmental organization sector. So we, with students, this was a student partnered research, we created something called the Nonprofit Cyber Incident Repository, and we publish the numbers, and we do something called open source intelligence gathering. That's OSINT. And what that means is we're using publicly available resources that outline where organizations uh, clearly identified that there was a cyber incident or attack. And this helps the nonprofit community, but it also helps academic researchers. We keep track of requests for this data set. And in fact, what we ended up doing was and by the way, we have team collaborators on this as well, and we're always adding new students each year. We've only been doing it over the past 2 years. But what we did is we actually wrote a peer-reviewed paper on this and outlined exactly how we set up this system, this data set, how we collect the data, how we work with students, and what our results were. And this was in the first iteration back in 2024. Again, this was working with the community led to us recognizing there was an unmet need in the nonprofit and non-government organization sector. And so we began to keep track, and we're continuing to do that. This is a open educational resource that other institutions can actually employ. We outlined the framework that we follow. And again, these are all on our page, um, our page through the digital library, the Kane Digital Library. Another thing or resource that we made available for small businesses, and this is for those who wish to pursue their own risk assessments. So in the project that I outlined with the community that created this open educational resource, us at Kane University, in partnership with students, were doing cyber risk assessments. But we recognize there are many that would pursue them on their own. They may want to do a self-assessment and not entertain another organization assessing their cyber risk hygiene. So in this case, we created some, and this was in partnership with the community, with ISC2. ISC2, as I said earlier, this is a very large, it's probably the largest cyber nonprofit in the state of New Jersey. They have a very active group. Many students are able to join, and in fact, they get opportunities to collaborate and network with individuals in industry already, and that helps with internships and potential entry-level jobs, but also mentoring. And what we did is there was an individual, Aneta, she was at ISC2 and said, I do risk assessments for a bank. I can easily use that experience to partner with you and make it available in a write-up that we can share with the community as really an open educational resource. Now, you may notice that under Kane University Center for Cybersecurity, there's another group called the Cloud Security Alliance New Jersey chapter. Cloud security, as many of us recognize, we use the cloud quite frequently. You may recall earlier this week, Amazon Web Services, a big cloud provider of infrastructure, had an outage, and it may have affected some systems that you use. We here at Kane University host the Cloud Security Alliance New Jersey chapter. And one of the benefits of this hosting is that we include students in our board and our leadership for that chapter. Other things, well, because we are closely partnered with the FBI InfraGard, we also had an opportunity to create a resource, an open educational resource through, again, documented. I often say to our teams, if you don't write it down, it didn't happen, right? And we could say we did it, but if we didn't write it down, there's no evidence, and it's not clearly outlined. So there was EDUCAUSE, a big a group that focuses on IT security in the higher education sector, realized that we wrote about collaborating between academia and law enforcement for cybersecurity. This was a community outreach. We partnered with individuals from the FBI, local police departments, and also researchers at Montclair State University. And we wrote a paper on ransomware. Some of you might be familiar with ransomware. Ransomware is a common malware and cyber threat that can encrypt information on individual computers or data in the cloud and require that an individual pay a ransom to get their data, system, or information returned. We partnered with many different individuals to write about how organizations can prepare for ransomware with ethics in mind and a command system framework. And what we mean by ethics is that we positioned the information and the data to demonstrate to organizations that they had an ethical responsibility to ensure that the systems and data that they store or create or share are they're doing their due diligence and taking duty of care very importantly to keep the information secure. So that ended up in another resource. Again, partnering with lots of different individuals to create a resource. This was again the community, and I have to mention these aren't all academic researchers. We're talking about practitioners, those who have many years experience in the field, which I often say for those in academia, it's a good idea to work with the community who may not be in the business of publishing papers or writing documentation that could be shared as open educational resources. But with us being at a university where this is important, especially an R2 university like Kean University, we can guide and we can certainly glean their important information and experiences and expertise and help work together to create these resources. This one, and this is another, I spoke about this, I believe this was one of the previous OER conferences, but it is another resource. I'll bring it up for those who may not have seen this. This was a teaching case, and again, it's an open educational resource. And we partnered with a student here at Kean University who's now a graduate student here at Kean University, and he was an employee part-time in the Kean Information Technology Department. And in this case, we created the concept of using firewalls or security devices. They help protect networks and organizations from the perimeter. So think of like a fence protecting, a football game or a baseball game, so folks can't run onto the field. Firewalls do the same with regard to data, information, and information flow. And this concept required extreme partnership with a professional vendor company, a company that provides these solutions. And we made it available to our Kean. First, we tested it here at Kean University through a Firewalls and Secure Computing Enterprise class that we run. The class runs for information technology, computer science, and criminal justice majors pursuing cyber courses. And we were able to utilize a virtual firewall, meaning we didn't have to buy 30 firewall devices, which could run into the thousands of dollars each one. We were able to implement them in a virtual manner on a laptop. And these were laptops that we have hosted at Kean University. This way it was very inexpensive to then demonstrate and build competencies for students in navigating and using an actual firewall. So this teaching case study was also was first presented and published as a conference proceeding, but now it's moving. We just got approval. I think it was last week. If Chris is online, Christopher Eng, I give credit to Christopher. We partnered well on this project in the center. We were just approved for being published in the journal. So again, this was open educational, free, right? These are first of all the resource, and we outline this as a pretty lengthy article because there's lots of screenshots and the tools you need to obtain in order to set up such a lab environment. But in any case, students did not have to pay to be able to interface with an actual real multi-thousand-dollar appliance. We call them appliances, kind of like a refrigerator, but they're firewalls. They're what, as I said earlier, this is what are used to protect environments. Let's see. What do we employ? Well, we try to keep a focus on if we're building something, and I tell students this all the time, if we're building a solution for our own use, let's build it so that we keep in mind the community, other institutions across the United States, but across the globe, quite frankly. So let's think about how we can uh, document what it is we're doing so that it isn't a one-off and it gets much more use. And we think there's value in that. And so we keep publication or creating research publications surrounding the work of whatever it is that we're approaching. I shared with you a variety here today, quite many different resources. We work, and I give thanks, heavy thanks to our university relations department. We need to create simple books, ebooks, or e-versions or print versions to help guide individuals who may not want to read a 25-page paper, right? They may want to look at something simpler so they get the idea. So we put attention there as well. Presentations like I'm doing here today, grant proposals, we team up wherever we can. And many of you do this, I'm sure, as well. But we like to keep in mind if we're working on a project that we're also going to open it up. And not just from the perspective of what are the results of the research, but how did we go about the product that we were approaching or the activity we're approaching because others may use that. And as you've seen today, we built something for a grant project, which then was really leveraged by the cybersecurity clinics over at UC Berkeley. Magazine and media articles, we don't seek this, but we did get some attention in the state of New Jersey for this as well. This was New Jersey ROI. Student engagement, we really want to empower students to speak at conferences, work on our case studies, and finally, create your own OER materials. We're talking about sharing and using with the global community. And I hope some of you at the end may share some resources that perhaps you've created. Let's see. And I said this earlier, our author dashboard, we're shocked. This is from the beginning. We started this in 2023. We've started to make our resources available. And if you look, we have a really good range. And having worked on the ground in many parts of Southeast Asia, Latin America, the global South, and Africa, it makes me really happy to see resources being used widely. So I think if you look at the numbers, the primary request for the information has been in, it looks like about North America, but we have quite a few in other parts of the globe as well. And so keeping track through downloading of our materials is important to us. Let's see. Oh, top countries that have downloaded the materials. US is top, Brazil, Singapore, China, UK, Australia, India, Canada, Germany, Vietnam, and it goes on. And I think this was also very, and is it 100% perfect? This is where they're pulling the resources from our, as I mentioned, portal that's hosted here through our digital library at Kean University. It does not incorporate where individuals might be downloading the materials directly from the journal website, okay, or other resources where articles or data might be hosted. Let's see. Okay. So I did that in 35 minutes. And what I want to do is spend a little bit of time in speaking to you all and spending a couple minutes. I want to leave you a few minutes today before you head into your other session, but I hope we might be able to get some input. First of all, you could certainly ask me questions. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And I can certainly go back if there's something you'd like me to to clarify or explain it even further. But think about what efforts or activities are you currently engaged with or considering that could lead to OER creation? You'd be surprised, there might be some there. Do you have any constraints that may be hindering your ability to foster and create OER? It'd be great to hear that, and as well, have you created any materials that you wish to share with the audience? I should also add, in creating some of these resources, recently in working on the development of an online course, we're incorporating some of these resources into the online course versions. For example, the firewalls class, because it makes sense. It's been well documented and vetted, and we can actually reuse that in a format that could be shared in an online environment. Okay, so questions, or does anyone want to weigh in on any of these? I don't know, Aaliyah, if they're able to chat in anything that the audience would like to share.
Yes, you are able to put your questions or any thoughts. If you want to add anything to the discussion topics, you're able to put them in the chat. Sometimes some folks will put it in the Q&A as well, so I do want to monitor that. That happened yesterday. I want to make sure we're not missing anything. I will say, I'm not sure. I do see the names of the attendees. I'm not sure if we have any faculty per se that are joining us from Kane or elsewhere in the United States or across the globe. But I will say, to your second point, Muhammad would probably know, because he works more directly with open access and open educational resources, as do our librarians. So I'm not definitely the one who could speak to this with the most expertise. But I will say, and again, I'm not sure if we have faculty on the call or librarians that would understand this a little bit more than I would. But to your second point, do you have any constraints that may be hindering your ability to foster and create open educational resources? This might be discipline specific, because while some areas, maybe such as cybersecurity or those in the medical field, right? It's ever evolving and rapidly changing. So
Right.
something that you may put in a print book or text that you are having students have to purchase, that technically in some areas are especially for the sciences, they tend to be pretty expensive, pretty pricey for students, and they're so quickly out of date, right? So adopting something like OER or creating certain materials yourself would probably be in the best interest of everybody, right? For cost effectiveness for students and things, information that's so quickly outdated. And sometimes OER, not that it can't work for all disciplines, but sometimes I feel like certain disciplines, at least I've heard anecdotally, it's hard for them to convert a lot of their resources completely to OER. As much as they, as faculty, I'm sure would love to do that. Again, reducing equity gaps and barriers for students, especially financially. I'm sure that they'd love to, but I think sometimes discipline specific, at least I've heard this anecdotally, might be difficult. So again, I'm not one to say that with 100% expertise. I've just heard this. So yeah, I'm not sure if there's anybody that wants to contribute in the chat that's had this experience themselves as faculty, or just have heard this at their universities, or Stan, I'm not sure if you
Yeah, no,
this.
I'm glad you mentioned that. And you're right. It's difficult sometimes to eliminate a book that's required for a course, and that's certainly a constraint. Even as I mentioned earlier, for the firewalls class that we're creating online, we're still using a book. Now we're complementing it with lots of resources that are publicly available. We think that's valuable. But the one thing I would say on the open access or open educational resource front, and we're really pushed, in our case, by the National Security Agency. They want to ensure that our students, when they come out of the program, have good hands-on access to tools and systems, that they actually built competencies, right? Books are great, but hands-on certainly builds great competencies as well. And you can obtain competencies certainly from the books that are made available to classes. But in our case, we created, and you make a great point, Aaliyah, because the firewall we chose is a vendor, right? It's a publicly known vendor. They're a publicly traded company. They're a multi-billion dollar company. They're in business now, right? So, but as it as can happen, they may not be doing great in 5 years, and so that tool will not be as popular as it is today. So keeping these up to date is very important. It's a great point. Right now, we haven't had to recreate that resource. And also for the cyber risk assessments that we made available through our work in the SBA, the process we're following is a process that's made available through the Department of Homeland Security, something called CISA, CISA. That's the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. They made this available to us publicly for free, but we have to train students and individuals on how to use this tool. It's still a software product, right? Any software product, you need to spend some time and you need to be given some guidance to use it properly. And that's popular now and it's free now, but it may not be in 3 or 4 years. So keeping it fresh is important. But again, if it's your own, I think there's a benefit. You can adjust it, you could amend it, you can update it, right? If there's something in a book that I don't like, and I'm not dissing books, right? I mean, we have certainly materials, reference material we make available that are terrific. But sometimes it's got material that's outdated, as you said, and I think, oh goodness, we're going to skip over that. That's not in use anymore, right? Or that's not a thing. So, I think that's we can't change that though, right? We have to wait for the next edition. So there's a little bit of pro and con to having some of your own materials. Now, I should say, having your own materials doesn't mean you just create it and it's done. If you do get it published, it's going to go through some rigor, right? We received lots of feedback on our papers that outlined our process. And as those of you who might be maybe faculty or even students, because I'm working quite a bit with students lately that are publishing with in partnership with faculty, um, the feedback isn't always so nice, right? And so, and the point, and that's okay, right? That keeps the product from not being really as good as it can be. So I am open to feedback, but so if you do create a resource, I think there's a benefit in writing about it and trying to get it published because you will be put through some sort of rigorous and I want to say debate over some of the content. We had to remove some content or update it or make it better because of feedback, which we thought was good enough. But it took us longer then uh, to get this out to the public for open access. But at the same time, you have to be willing to share. Now, when it comes to technology, Aaliyah, and I should say this, not everyone wants to share everything that they build. Okay, that's not unusual because there's something called intellectual property and intellectual capital, and that is
Mhm.
important as well. But we're not selling these items, right? We're making it available so it can be used. We see there's a lot more value in doing that.
I was actually, you touched upon this as was one of the questions I had for you was you
Yeah.
provide such rich opportunities for students to gain experiences at the undergraduate and graduate level. And you mentioned working with quite a few different areas, career services, their LEAP interns and scholars, and CURF students. And one of my questions was going to be, I know you had gone through a couple of examples
Yeah.
earlier in your presentation, but are there opportunities for students to publish alongside faculty and practitioners?
Yeah. Absolutely. And now they have to do the work, right? That's in the work we've done, and I should mention this, several of our published papers, I left sections dedicated to students to work on, and they unbelievable. I was impressed with the work. Now it needed to go through, like for many students, going through peer review could be a little difficult in the beginning, right? Because there's a lot of feedback and it depends on your reviewers, but it's a good example. And I mentor them through this. And I try to, instruct them and show them that this is okay, right? We want feedback. You're going to get feedback as you enter your work role careers. So this is a good way to start. And students get that through instructors, certainly at Kane University and other universities. But so we do offer that opportunity. Um, does it always work? Well, we have several papers that haven't gotten completed yet, so we're still working on that. But I think it's certainly doable. We've had good success in also, it doesn't necessarily have to be a peer review. We've written some white papers and we've written some articles that ended up in magazines, and that's also with students. In fact, several years ago, our center partnered with a technical high school in the area, and we were doing some work. This was virtually with high school students, and they also were able to get a small magazine write-up published. And that's thrilling, right? Quite honestly, well, it's thrilling to our center, but it's also thrilling to the students themselves. You have to ask though. You got and it's extra work. It's right. This is more work outside the classroom. But I often tell the students, your studies first, right? That's priority.
Absolutely. And getting them to see the value. I mean, it's such a great opportunity for them, especially for undergraduate students, to have to leave with their bachelor's degree and be able to be like, look at all these wonderful experiences I already bring to the table.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it's
I
great.
agree. I agree.
I have I guess, more of a broad question because it did come up quite a few times throughout the presentations yesterday. But the big topic of AI, right? I know you had mentioned a little
Right.
bit about that earlier. But how, again, this is more of a broad question, but how do you think, especially in the industry of cybersecurity, how is AI impacted?
Yeah.
And also with keeping the incentives of faculty and also students and incentivizing them to create these open educational resources, especially because you said it's a rigorous process, right?
Mhm.
So how has AI kind of shaped the industry and providing information so readily available and accessible? Also making sure that it's accurate, right? That
Mhm.
AI is learning every day and it may not always be accurate. We do need to keep it and feed it information and keep it in check sometimes. But I guess that's more of a two-pronged question, right? AI, but then also how do we still ensure that faculty and students are incentivized to create OER materials?
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that, right? In our grant funders also want us to be engaged with AI, right? So that really has pushed us in some cases. Uh, One thing I'll lean on is and I'm grateful to the CAE program, Center of Academic Excellence program. About 18 months ago, when AI and generative AI was really bubbling up quick, and fast, the cyber community, and this is at the national level, right across the nation, realized, okay, you cyber instructors and programs, what are we going to do about AI? Because the attackers are going to be using AI. So there's two areas, and there's two areas that are being pursued by academic institutions in AI integrating into cyber. The first is securing AI, right? We've all heard AI is only as good as the large language model and the data that helped create that model. So how do we secure that, secure AI? What are the steps? What are the technologies? What are the best practices to do that? What's the best way to actually develop the program? Whatever AI, for example, you might be creating some AI solution. Uh, how do you do it with security in mind as a forefront? So that's one area of cyber in AI. The second is using AI, and this is where that's ramping up very quickly. How do we use AI to enhance our cyber defense capabilities? And that's getting lots of attention. I don't think there's a cyber company out there. If you look at their website, there's not one out there that won't say, "Hey, we're using AI." And they are. They don't have a choice because it does certainly bring into account greater efficiencies and effectiveness. So think about, you may not be familiar with this, but there's log files generated. Every time you use your computer or a website, there's lots of logs, right? Who did what, when, where, what did you download? What did you access? Who's on? What's been adjusted? Whatever, the data from where are they connecting? So there's so many touch points. And when it comes to using AI in cyber defense products, that's been beneficial. So that's a big area that organizations, businesses, companies that are providing cybersecurity tools are using, or uh, departments, right? IT departments themselves could be using AI inside their operations that isn't necessarily from from a company. I'll use an example, uh, and this has been used in some labs. If you capture login data, right? So, when I logged into my computer, that's logged. I connected to Outlook email, it's logged, right? So you have all these log files. Well, you can have an individual download those log files and use generative AI to then look for anomalies. Hey, why is Stan connecting from, hey, I see Stan connecting at 3 a.m. Why does it say he's in Guatemala, right? So what's up with that? That's an anomaly. Something's out of the ordinary there. So there's certainly areas where AI is helping cyber. Now, on the same front, it's also helping the bad actors, Aaliyah, right? They're also using AI to improve their efficiency and effectiveness of attacks against organizations. So it's making it so as you think, oh, we're getting better in our defensive
Mhm.
area with AI, but oh wait, the bad actors are also getting better. So
Right. I
does
know
it
it's a fully
cancel each
loaded
other out?
question. I know we don't nearly have all of the answers to it. I mean, it's
Yeah,
evolving every day, but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's a fascinating question, is all, in almost
All
every
right.
industry.
So let me wrap up here. Unless there's any other questions or comments, and I appreciate those, Aaliyah. Okay. So, um, do's and don'ts, right? So consider creating freely available resources. That's a do. All right. I think we should share our work that's admirable and it's working well and it's been effective. Be open-minded, right? You've seen a bunch of different sources here today, and I know I couldn't show you every article, but I wanted to give you at least a highlight of them. But they could come in different shapes and sizes, and I think you've seen a variety here today. In my case, find common ground with students. Ask them what they're interested in working on as well. If you're partnering with them to create solutions, make it relatable. Think globally. I often bring that to, our team brings that to the table. All right, how does this, this works great here in New Jersey, but couldn't this process be used in a different part of the globe? Uh, things don't to not do, don't, uh, don't avoid providing targeted goals, right? Don't avoid that. Um, you know, give credit where credit is due, right? And you'll notice, I mean, we have several web pages. If you have worked with different groups or students, I give credit. You should. I think that's very empowering to the community. Um, the work we did with the SBA, the US SBA grant, these were individuals from outside of Kane. They were active in the community, active in the entrepreneurial space, active in the nonprofit areas. And we empowered them. And by empowering them, they empowered us, right? To create articles. And I think that's certainly gave them credit, and that's always appreciated. Don't settle. New approaches will evolve. You hit on that earlier. And don't try to go at it alone. It's more fun when you do it together. It takes longer, but it's more fun. Okay. If that is it, I tell the group, I give you 5 minutes, but feel free to contact me at any time. You could write us at cybersecurity@kane.edu, and maybe one day you'll visit us in the center. I'd be happy to welcome you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mirzwa. If there are any final thoughts or questions, please put them in the chat. We do have a few minutes. Um, if there are none, I remember seeing this video, the cybersecurity competition. And
Yes.
I love watching the university relations productions of all the incredible things that
Yeah.
we're doing here at the university. And we might not have enough time to show it, but if you don't mind, I'd love to put it in the chat for anybody that'd be interested to see some of the students and some of the interesting
Yeah, thank you.
tech
I could,
challenges.
yeah, let me mention that. That was a very novel. We did this earlier in the year, and we hope to do it again next year. So for those students who might be connected from Kane or from other institutions, we had students participate in this competition in person from as far away as Massachusetts. So they drove down as a team to compete, and that was a terrific show of support and community. This was a competition, and I give credit to our Kane alum, Scott Schober. He's an entrepreneur, and he started an organization after leaving Kane University. He got a degree out of our computer science program, started a technology company, and has been quite successful. And we did a competition that focused on smart tags, right? This is called cyber physical. Smart tags are, think Apple Air tags, right? These are great if you lose your bag or if you lose, your wallet. Perhaps you keep one in there. It could be very helpful, but they could also be a little bit something to be concerned about, right? If somebody or an individual that doesn't have great intent plants one on you and they're tracking you, that's not good. So Scott Schober, and we did this for students. We helped them to determine using technology, and we call this a capture the smart tag. There's a thing in cyber. It's called capture the flag, right? If anyone's ever participated in paintball, I've done this paintball tournaments. You're trying to win a flag and get back to home base without being hit with a paintball, right? It doesn't hurt you, but you get marked with paint. I've never won one of those. I've participated, but never came out victorious. But so it's the same idea. We had teams of students participate. They were timed. We hid smart tags around campus, and students had to go and find them using technology, which focused on something called Bluetooth. Bluetooth is something many people are familiar with. You use it to connect a smart speaker to your phone, or you might use Bluetooth to connect if you have a watch. Bluetooth is used in many different areas, but low energy versions of Bluetooth are what are planted on these small smart tags. And this competition drew a good amount. We had about, I want to say, 70 students and from across the area. And it drew attention to cyber, but also, many people think cyber is only, what's going on in, Wi-Fi or in the ether, but it's also around us in different areas. And those smart tags were one of those areas. So thank you, Aaliyah, for mentioning that. That was an activity. We haven't written about that though. That's interesting. Maybe we should document. You just gave us an idea.
Yeah, there
Maybe
you
that's
go.
something.
Another opportunity.
Yeah.
But I did put the link in the video. I don't think we have enough time. There's a minute before the next presentation starts, but I did put the video in the chat for anybody that'd like to go take a look at it. And thank you again so much for your
Okay. Appreciate
presentation
it.
and sharing the
Thank you.
incredible work you and your team is doing in the world of cybersecurity.
All right. See you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. And for those, this link, we are going to have the next session for perception versus practice, a data-driven look at faculty engagement with open access. So those who are who would like to remain, that would be this session for this link.
Hello, everyone. Maria, our presenter, is joining now. Good morning, Maria.
Good morning.
All right. For some reason, your moderator was unable. Oh, I'm here to moderate. Okay. David, let me just bring David in.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes, I can see your presentations. All right, David. Sorry we could not add you as a moderator earlier. Your email was not popping up, but you're here. So I will leave you and Maria here. I hope the session goes well. I'm going to jump into the session.
All right. Thank you, Mohammed. So Maria, how are you?
Yes, I'm here.
Good. So welcome everyone. My name is David Yu. I'm an assistant professor at K University. I'm really happy to moderate this session. We have a great speaker, Maria. Let me just, yeah. So Maria Datular, that she has broad experience in academic and special and public libraries. She currently serves as a health service collections librarian at Rutgers University. And prior to becoming a librarian, Maria was an archivist and historical researcher. So her current research interests include open access in health sciences and bibliometrics and emerging technologies. So she will today give us a great talk about the perception versus the practice, a data-driven look at faculty engagement with open access. So we have less than an hour for this panel session. So I do give Maria an authority to share your screen. Oh, maybe you already have the authority. So while Maria is presenting today, I will monitoring the chat to see if there's any questions from the participants. So once I have the questions, I will let Maria know so she can respond. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David. Could you please confirm that you can see my screen? With 3 monitors, I'm not sure what you are seeing. Can you see my
So
presentation?
yes, I can see
Oh,
it.
good.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
Yes.
I'm sorry, because it's always
Yeah.
an issue when you have more than one
Oh, yeah.
one. Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Deptula. I'm currently working as a health collections librarian at Rutgers University. My colleague Mina Gajar could not make this presentation today, and I lost my voice yesterday, so I was gargling for half a night, and I'm hoping that I will survive for the next 45 minutes without coughing. So please excuse me for I have a cough drop, and excuse me that I'm going to drink some water during the presentation. Okay, let's go. In anticipation of the Nelson's memo, also known as the OSTP Public Access Memo, scheduled for implementation in December 2025, in the fall of 2024, my colleague Mina Gajar and I surveyed faculty from 3 Rutgers Health schools: the School of Health Professions, the School of Dental Medicine, and the school in the New Jersey Medical School, to assess their understanding and attitudes toward publishing open access. The findings align with global research trends. Faculty broadly acknowledge open access benefits, including wider dissemination, greater visibility, and enhanced impact of scholarly work. Due to a low response rate, though, we decided to extend the study by performing a bibliometric analysis using data retrieved from Scopus. This dataset was then visualized with BuzzViewer, an open source tool for mapping and analyzing bibliometric data. In In this presentation, I will provide a brief summary of our survey results, describe how we extracted and utilized data from Scopus, explain how VozViewer helped us visualize and interpret the data, and discuss what these findings could mean for the library. So let's start with the survey, which was our first phase. As I mentioned, the survey targeted faculty to gauge their perspective on publishing open access, on publishing open access, their awareness of transformative agreements offered by the Rutgers University Libraries, and their expectations for library support. The results confirm existing literature on faculty perceptions and engagement with open access publishing. 80% of respondents were familiar with open access and understood its benefits. Over 67% have published open access, consistent with studies showing that health sciences researchers are more inclined to publish open access than those in other fields. Full-time faculty are more familiar with open access journals and have published more open access articles. 100% would publish or consider publishing open access if costs were covered. Key reasons for publishing open access include compliance with funding body requirements, such as Nelson Memo, and the desire to reach broader audiences. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons we conducted the survey was the fact that Rutgers signed a transformative agreement with Elsevier in 2024, and we wanted to determine whether faculty were aware of this agreement. This is a definition of transformative agreement by Lisa Janicki-Hinckliffe. In practical terms, this means that if a faculty member wishes to publish an open access article in a journal included in the transformative agreement, the publication fees, also known as APCs, are waived. Currently, Rutgers University Libraries have 21 transformative agreements, which apply exclusively to journal articles and conference papers. The library provides an open access publishing opportunities for Rutgers researchers' website that lists these agreements and details what they cover. These agreements extend to faculty, graduate students, postgrads, and Rutgers affiliates, such as, for instance, researchers from the Cancer Center. These transformative agreements were established either directly with publishers or through consortia. The first agreement was signed in 2021 as part of the Big Ten Academic Alliance partnership with Cambridge University Press. And currently, these agreements cover more than 6,000 journals, not just open access journals. Here are the results from our survey regarding transformative agreements. The survey revealed that more than 60% of respondents were unaware that Rutgers libraries offer transformative agreements. Only 5% have ever contacted the library for assistance with APCs. We also found that the prestige of the journal or publisher plays a critical role in faculty decisions about where to publish. This slide shows the number of faculty from the 3 surveyed schools who applied for APCs or used the transformative agreements in 2024. In that year, 1,039 articles were published through Rutgers transformative agreements, and faculty from all Rutgers health schools, which is 7, constituted 43% of all applicants for transformative agreements APCs. At this point, we do not have data from previous years, and I'm mentioning it because it will be relevant later in the presentation. So in the phase 2, of our study, we used Scopus to extract bibliographic data, and then we employed VozViewer to visualize publishing patterns across the 3 schools to have a clearer picture of their open access activities. Our goals were to identify the journals where faculty published most frequently and determine whether Rutgers has transformative agreement with those publishers. We also wanted to know which faculty published in open access, as well as examine faculty collaboration practices, which is particularly important because APCs can only be waived if the corresponding author is affiliated with Rutgers. Using Scopus, we extracted publication data for faculty from the 3 schools. We limited the results to the past 25 years to align with the period of significant open access growth, and restricted them to English language publication, and we also excluded preprints. During the download process, we discovered inconsistencies in how affiliations are reported in Scopus. Between 2013 and 2024, what is now known as Rutgers Health was then Rutgers Biomedical and Health Sciences, and prior to 2013, the structure was even more complex. However, while the umbrella institution's name changed over time, the individual school names remain consistent. For this reason, we relied on faculty self-reported affiliation to ensure accuracy. The initial download of the results, both for open access and non-open access, included 6,995 records, with only 2 duplicates. For our analysis, we focused only on journal articles and conference papers, since, as I said, these are the only ones covered by the TAs, and excluded editorial notes, comments, reviews. This left us with 5,555 records to evaluate and visualize. Nearly 45% of them, 2,469, according to Scopus, were published open access. This aligned with the survey's self-reported data, where more than 67% of respondents indicated that they had published open access, confirming that faculty from the 3 schools are indeed familiar with open access publishing. We chose to download all results rather than filtering for open access only, because it would allow us to identify where faculty publish most frequently in subscription and open access journals, which will help us to determine whether Rutgers subscribes to those journals. When we attempted to categorize faculty publishing models, Scopus classification introduced significant complexity. As shown on the graph, terms such as bronze to green, green to hybrid gold, gold to green, and hybrid gold versus gold appear. And this, for those of you who are not familiar with this terminology, gold open access means that after the author pays the APCs, the final version of the article is immediately available for anyone to read. So gold open access relies on faculty paying to publish. Green open access, also known as self-archiving model, allows authors to make a version of their article, usually the accepted manuscript, freely available in an institutional or subject repository, typically after an embargo period. Bronze open access occur when an article is made freely accessible on a publisher or association website without Creative Commons license. This model is unstable because the article can be removed at any time. A common example of this bronze open access is, for instance, conference presentations. Hybrid open access refer to subscription journals that offer authors the option to make individual articles open access by paying APCs. This model enables publishers to collect both subscription fees and APCs. Many transformative agreements cover only hybrid journals. This is very, very relevant. So this is one of, when we download it into Excel, this is how the designation for open access looked like. And we were really, it was a little bit of work to clear this image. So here's what we came up at the end. This is a simplified view of the data downloaded from Scopus regarding open access publishing models. Nearly 48% of publications followed the green open access model, meaning that the article was published in a subscription or pay-to-access journal, and a preprint or postprint were self-archives in a repository. The key question one might ask is which repositories were used and how can they be located? Publications in hybrid and gold open access journals, typically covered by transformative agreements, accounted for only about 1/4 of all the publications. A notable concern is the 27% of publications that fell under the bronze open access model, where articles are freely accessible but lack a Creative Commons license, making them vulnerable to removal at any time. As you can see, the hybrid gold and gold, it's less than 1,000 articles. Scopus provides several visualization tools for analyzing selected data. This graph shows open access publication by faculty from the 3 schools between 2000 and 2025. Interestingly, the highest number of open access publication occurred around 2010-2012, well before Rutgers launched its repository for green open access articles and before any transformative agreements were signed. When I shared this graph with my colleagues from the scholarly communication team, it raised questions. Since the numbers do not align with our TA data, transformative agreement data. For example, last year, the faculty from only the New Jersey Medical School published over 121 articles. So our next step was to visualize the data that we extracted. We used VozViewer, an open source tool for bibliometric mapping and data visualization. VozViewer creates maps based on bibliographic, network, and text data, allowing us to explore relationships such as collaborations among faculty, collaboration between departments and countries, as well as the sources where faculty publish. According to McAllister et al. In 2022, VozViewer can also serve as a valuable tool for academic libraries, helping identify collection gaps and supporting liaisons in understanding departmental needs. The software offers 3 visualization types: network, density, also called a heat visualization, and overlay. One of our first visualization explored the journals in which faculty published. This is for all journals, not the open access journals. When creating maps in VozViewer, we set thresholds to filter the data. And you can see here that the threshold, in this case, was minimum number of documents at the source. After which the software generates a table based on those parameters and visualizes the results. While similar data can be extracted using Excel, VozViewer adds a powerful visual layer that reveals patterns and relationships far more effectively. This map, created from the data in the previous slide's table, is a density or heat map. It's showing the most popular journals among the surveyed faculty. The darker the color, red, the more articles faculty published in that journal. As you can see, Journal of Biological Chemistry and PLOS ONE were among the most frequently chosen journals. This visualization helps us identify the most sought-after journals and verify their status within Rutgers libraries, whether we subscribe to them and whether they are covered by our transformative agreements. Using VozViewer, we also created a network map highlighting the most prolific authors, based not only on the number of papers they publish, but also on their collaborations and the number of citations their paper received. And again, we first created the table to see, and we can, in the table, we can sort by the number of citations, number of documents. And here is the network map based on the data from the previous table that shows clusters of collaborations and identifies the most prolific authors. The size of each circle reflects the author's publication output and citations trend. The larger the circle, the greater the impact, or the larger the circle, the most potent author's publication collaborations and citations. For example, although Dr. Deitch, the brown cluster, published slightly more articles than Professor Sadoshima, the red cluster, the latter was cited more frequently. While the image here is static, in VozViewer, you can hover over any cluster or name to view detailed information at the bottom of the screen. So as I mentioned, one of the key advantages of voice viewer maps is the ability to zoom in on a specific cluster, title, or name. For example, zooming at Professor Sadashima reveals detailed information about his collaboration networks, number of publication, and citation count. This is an overlay visualization where color represents the average publication year. You can see this at the legend in the bottom right corner. This is the same data, but the different kind of map. As I said, this is the overlay. This maps helps us view connection between authors, but also it's showing when their publications occur. On the same map, we zoom on Professor Ditch, the most prolific author with 125 publications, and notice that most of his publications occurred around 2005. His last paper was published around 2013, which would correlate with his retirement around this time from the NJMS. We also tried to find out who among the faculty published more recently. And we learned that the average publication year for Professor Parrott's paper was about 2020. Next, we created maps based on bibliographic data for open access publications only. In this table preceding the map, we observed that Circulation Research is a popular journal among faculty. While Rutgers subscribes to it via Ovid, we do not have a transformative agreement with this publisher, meaning that if the faculty publishes in this journal, they have to have funds to pay APCs. Another frequently used journal is Journal of Vascular Surgery, published by Elsevier. This hybrid journal is covered under Rutgers Transformative Agreement signed in 2024, and an APC for this journal is about $4,000. So this is how much we saved the faculty. The highest number of publications appears in the Journal of Biological Chemistry. This is a fully open access journal, also published by Elsevier. The APCs for this journal are about 2,800, but because it's not a hybrid journal, it's a full open access journal, it is not covered in the transformative agreement that we signed. And here is the heat map or density visualization map of the most popular open access journals among the faculty from the 3 schools. The next map we created in VOSviewer focused on identifying the most prolific open access authors. While the 2 top authors remain the same, Sadashima and Ditch, this visualization reveals that Professor Sadashima has published more open access articles than Professor Ditch. You might wonder why there is 8,000 authors, over 8,000 authors. When we download the data from Scopus, all the authors are included. In order to receive in order to have the APCs waived, the author has to be a corresponding author. So when faculty publishes and this faculty school does not have the transformative agreement with the particular publisher, it makes sense to make someone else a corresponding author. But for our threshold met 528 authors met the threshold that we set. And as I mentioned earlier, the colors in the overlay view represent the average publication year. And this map shows that most open access publication occurred before 2015, including papers by Dr. Sadashima, who still is active in NJMS and publishes. This raised an important question. Why have open access publications not increased since Rutgers signed the transformative agreement starting 2021? This discrepancy is one of our next goals to look into. In addition to creating maps based on bibliographic data, VOSviewer can also generate maps using text extracted from article titles and abstracts. To do this, we set a threshold for the minimum number of term occurrences and remove common non-informative words such as year or info. You can see here on the table that if there would be something that makes no relevance, like participant or individual, we can remove those terms from the text map. And this network visualization is based on text data, and it highlights clusters of the most frequently occurring terms. Increasing the minimum occurrence threshold would make the map clearer and help us identify the topics faculty writes about most often. Why this is relevant? I mentioned earlier that we can build our collections based on the text data, what the faculty is writing about. So again, each of those clusters can be enlarged, and we can get to the bottom of most common used topics by the faculty. Here are our findings. What did we learn from using Scopus data and visualizing it with VozViewer? We established the titles of journals most favored by the faculty in 3 schools, also including subscription as well as open access journals. We also learned which faculty published in open access and about their input. We can also explore the topic the faculty published about and use this data for building our collections. What can we do with this information? We can use it to verify whether Rutgers subscribes to the journals the faculty likes to publish in. We can check if Rutgers transformative agreements cover these publishers or consider negotiating new agreements. We can also inform the faculty about the transformative agreements. And this is something we have been doing since we collected the data for the survey. We were informing the faculty that we do have the transformative agreements, and since last year, we have many more requests from faculty for the APCs to be waived. What's next? Our survey was limited to 3 Rutgers schools and excluded preprints, a potential limitation, as these could include recent open access articles for which faculty used transformative agreement funds. Our next steps include conducting a deeper analysis of where and with whom the faculty publish and what is currently covered our transformative agreements. We may also look into the possibility of negotiating agreements with additional publishers. Finally, we must investigate why there is such a significant disparity between Scopus data, showing most open access publications occur before 2020, and the number of APC applications submitted under Rutgers transformative agreement. This is my presentation and bibliography. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Maria. I personally found this presentation was really, really helpful and really interesting because when I was a law librarian before I joined Kean University, as a professor, and I was having very robust interaction with the collection librarians. So always important and sometimes very stressful, to find out, what professors are, doing what scholarly, engagement and how to promote their, access to their scholarship, promote their scholarship for more access to the public. So I think your and your colleagues, this research is really impactful. So I want to just first ask, to the participant, do we have any question for Maria? Yes, we have one participant is raising a hand. So let's see. Yeah. Can you? So I'll do that. Because I don't have the full authority to control, this Zoom functions. So Lisa, could you please type your question in the chat if you don't mind? Yeah, I know this is much hassle, but yeah, I think this all panel stations are controlled by the university. So yeah. In the meantime, Maria, um, so your research is on kind of Scopus and a journal, um, again, with scholarly engagement, on Scopus. So I was kind of wondering, how they're using kind of different, database like in a Web of Science, might result some different,
Yes.
result or outcome. Yeah. Do you have any
Yes.
idea about that? Yeah.
We tried Web of Science, and this would be a good comparison. Unfortunately, the version that we have for the Web of Science didn't work with VosViewer. When importing data, running the visualization is easy. What's important is to clear the data that when you upload it into VosViewer. And with several attempts, the Web of Science just did not. There are different versions of Web of Science, and the one that Rutgers subscribes to, we could not upload the documents.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So I have a Lisa's question. She was very interested in again in the following up. As we are in the midst of a somewhat in a similar to study. So we started with a Scopus, although a different question about the citation advantage of the green open access. Here's the link. Um, so. Yeah, so we're currently analyzing survey data, also focused on the faculty awareness of and support of the Q, open access, and knowledge of APC and TAs. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Lisa. If you want, you can get in touch. We can get in touch and discuss this. My email is simple, maria.deptula@rutgers.edu. So we can discuss your results and your questions and how you are exporting data from Scopus. As I mentioned, it was not, you used not the raw citations. Okay, I'll get in touch with you, Lisa. Thank you. As I said, there are two options when exporting from Scopus. You can select just all open access and upload only open access articles. Or as in our case, we wanted all the information because we also wanted to know where they published not in open access. And that's what caused this, various versions of open access. And it started with green, then moved to hybrid, then moved to something else. It was, it's, for our purposes, we really wanted to know which gold or hybrid open access journals they published in, because that's where the transformative arguments are for those kind of journals.
Okay. Another question? So I bet many of here participating in this in a great discussion may have much curiosity, but they're not really ready to ask questions right away. But in the meantime, again, Maria, so when you are and your colleagues are doing this research, on the initiative to promote open access throughout the campus, for scholarly again engagement. So do you also consider kind of integrating some type of AI or kind of artificial intelligence tool to promote this AI again scholarly access?
I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
clearly understand. We do not. We do have I'm sorry, when we promote this to the faculty, we actually go to the faculty meetings, whether it's on Zoom or in person. We thought that this is the best way because they can see our faces and contact us directly. Last year, Rutgers really didn't have an open access librarian. It was a scholarly communication committee. But last year, the new position was formed, and there is one person right now. Not that she does everything, she still works with the committee, but it's like a point person. That's why I was able to receive the data for 2024, how many articles were from, how many applications from each schools came. We are still trying to collect the data from previous years, since 2021 when the first transformative agreement was signed, because this is a big discrepancy, that we don't see this even in the Scopus. First, I thought maybe the bus viewer just shows, because we set this threshold, maybe that's why we don't see everything. But even Scopus did not show enough publications in open access. So this is something we need to look into.
Okay, it's very interesting. Okay. So different institution has a different strategy again to promote the open access and engage their scholars, their faculty again to to join them for more kind of broad access. So do you think the Rutgers University I believe is on the forefront of doing this job, a great job, of course, the camp, I mean the nations, but what trajectory is Rutgers University is currently on this initiative, promoting again public access. I think they're doing a great job.
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
Rutgers has an open access policy that was
Okay.
instituted in 2015, and that's when our repository for green open access articles were open in 2015. When we go to the classrooms and ask faculty or the faculty presentation, some of them still don't know about the repository. Okay, and they also deposited their green open access articles in many different repositories. So finding where the material is, it's another challenge. Yes. However, the scholarly communication had several webinars this past year for faculty to remind them about the Nelson's memo that it's going to in December 2025. Anything that was published using public grants, public money, has to be in open access, which causes a lot of anxiety right now. Yes, because if it's not going to be in open access, the grants may not come again. So that's a big problem. So that's why we had several presentations. We still don't know how much the faculty is aware of everything, because often is that until they have to publish and they face the situation when they have to select the journal, that's when they come to us and ask questions. When we are talking to them, it's just like, unless it's somewhere in the grants information that they do have to do it this way and publish here or there, it doesn't hit them until there is a moment that they have to publish. So often they do not make a decision before whether they want it to be open access or not. It's not a conscious decision.
What about kind of the viewing this really important and timely approach kind of college or department level rather than kind of top down from the university. I believe there are kind of open discussions or open communications between the colleges as well across the campus, right? So they are really willing to kind of join this kind of broad initiative in line with, the university's initiative again. Yeah.
Well, I know that the research
Okay.
institute is involved with this. I
Okay.
really don't have the detailed information.
Yeah.
It's a little bit tricky because librarians, though we have the faculty status, but I don't received a lot of correspondence emails from the research institute. Okay, so I can't talk on this level.
Yeah. Good. Um, Again, I wanna mention again, this Q&A is open to the floor. So anyone who is willing to share your insight or any comment or ask any question is always welcome. Yeah.
And if not, we can give people 15 more minutes of their life, for a break before
Yeah.
the next presentation.
Yeah. But I believe that we have again this great guest speaker Maria from Rutgers University in the library. So even if we have many different panel sessions on different topics, but I believe this particular presentation on this topic is really meaningful and really timely and interesting. So
Thank you.
and like Lisa already mentioned, there are many points even that I find kind of relevant to in our job and our daily functions in academia particularly. Yeah. So any question or any comment? Any insight? So Maria, this kind of a question, I should have asked it earlier, but maybe I think I was really kind of done on asking this question even now. So when you first kind of think of this article, this presentation, what well, this presentation is based on your research, of course. So what brought you again engaged in that very timely and engaging research back then? Um,
Well, I was always interested in open access publishing, and it's the whole
oh, okay.
idea.
Yeah.
And in health sciences, it's very relevant.
Yeah.
I did have a presentation on open access to the faculty of one of the schools. And one of the faculty said to me, "Why is this relevant to us?" And I simply said, "We receive many emails every day from around the world, from countries, from doctors in countries who don't have that much money. And it's important for them. We receive those emails for ILLs. And these are people who need the information for their clinical work to help others. So I think it's important for the health sciences, and I guess that's also the basis behind all the institutions or governments that impose the open access necessity requirements, really. And in health sciences, it's in particular important. So everyone can have access to the newest medical information. But I also wanted to know how, Rutgers pays a lot of money for those transformative agreements, how they are going to be used, how they are being used. We had a situation that one transformative agreement was not renewed because there was not enough interest. So it was not worth the money. Transformative agreements are not perfect. We know that Europe is getting away with them because as they, transformative they were supposed to be transformative. And at this point, they bring a lot of money to revenues to many big vendors, particularly those hybrid journals. But we'll see what happens next, how long this will stay as a model for publishing.
Yeah. Very inspirational. Okay. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you very much.
Um, again, any question for Maria? Yeah. This is a very rare chance to ask, your question to the expert, you know.
Oh.
So, yeah, please, please engage with us. Yeah, yeah. What could be, Maria? What could be your in the next research? I know you briefly mentioned, your next focus in the last part of your presentation, but could you please expound on that, if you don't mind? Yeah,
Um, well, I want to finish all the
yeah,
um, I want to retrieve all the data that I can from the VOS viewer,
okay,
and see. Com but I would also like to have the information how many articles were published. Get to the bottom of this. Why we don't have the same information from Scopus that we have, through the channels here. We know that more people were asking, so why is nothing being published or visible? Why is it not visible? So that's the next step. But frankly, we are still working on writing this into a paper, the survey information and also the comparison with the data downloaded from Scopus.
okay. Hopefully, you'll be able to, to contribute to our next year, conference with the new
Mm.
findings from the new research. Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Um, so any question or comment? Yeah. We have 10 more minutes. Um,
Which we can give to people for a break so they can come for the next meeting since there are no more questions. Yes.
yeah. So
Mhm.
for all participants, I'm going to share the link to the program agenda on the website. So this is the link. So you can go and check what the next section, what the next panel session you like to join. So please check this website. Okay. So Maria, thank you very much for taking the time and making a huge contribution to this Open Access conference. I think we all here, to really enjoy your insight and your presentation, your talk, everything you share with us today. So thank you very much, and really
For
appreciate
having
your
me.
time again. And so some of you here, who showed your interest to touch base with Maria, you can please go ahead, and Maria will be we're absolutely glad to share her insight with you. Okay, okay. Thank you,
Mhm.
Maria. Yeah. Do you have
The
any
one question
yes.
are the presentation recorded? Are they going to be available for?
Yes, this is currently
Mhm.
recorded. So I believe these recordings will be made available on the website. Yeah, that's my understanding.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you very
So
much for having me.
thank you very much, Maria. Thank
Thank
you
you. Have a
again.
good day,
Okay.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you. All right. So here. So next session will be starting at 12 p.m. Um, so for those of you, who are um, joining the session, technology, equity, and OER, the building pathways to global collaborations and social mobility, can remain here. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Yvette. How are you? Oh dear, I can't hear you.
Nope, I was muted, sorry. I'm
That's okay.
trying to make sure I can share my window and not my whole window. I guess if it makes sense.
Yeah,
And
do
I
you want to
think,
see if you can share your screen?
sure, I'm trying to make sure I can get it in presenter view, though it's not letting me.
So I've made you a panelist. Let me see if I can make you a co-host. More.
So I do have a screen here. So here it is.
Schedule.
So this is
Yep.
what I'm trying to, yeah, it works, but I'm trying to make sure I can also see my notes, and it's not letting me.
Hmm.
Hmm. Oh, wait, no, that's not it either.
We're very excited about your session. So Yvette, I'm gonna actually, we're just gonna let everybody kind of take a break and then gather back and we can start promptly at 12. And I'm just gonna ask you, once I introduce you, give a little bit of your bio, if that's okay.
Okay, and I forgot to email it. I realized 2 seconds ago.
No worries at all. It's better to hear it from you in person or on virtual in the midst of the conference. So we're thrilled. So we'll just give everybody a beat and let me know if you need anything.
All right, thank you.
Okay, folks who are with us or just joining us, we'll start in about 2 minutes. So go grab your coffee and we'll get started promptly at 12. Okay, all, welcome back. We're going to begin our third session of the second day of our Open Access Conference. I am thrilled to introduce Yvette Reyes, who is going to speak to us about technology, equity, and OER, building pathways to global collaboration and social mobility. Yvette, thanks for being here, and please take it away.
Well, it's officially good afternoon to everybody. And welcome, everyone. I'm excited to share some of the research I've been doing and some of the work I've been doing in technology integration and open educational resources. My journey as a district leader and now a retired entrepreneur and business owner and a doctoral student, so I have a lot going on, has always had one question that's been going on, and it's how can schools serve as catalysts for closing opportunity gaps and connecting communities through open access learning? It's been a journey. I have 30 years of education. I was an executive director of technology and innovation in the public school systems in New Jersey. I now own a business that's consulting and coaching organizations, schools on innovation and technology integration and how to better move communities with the digital divide that exists. So I'm going to start with our agenda. Let's take a quick look. Here is what we'll be looking at. I'll be framing the challenges that we currently face. We'll look at some case studies and some research that I've done. And then we're going to have a little interactive design challenge. I'm going to have participants actually start to create their own outline of how they can integrate OER. And then we'll do some reflection and share some tools and frameworks that you can utilize. So here we are going, here's where we're going today. We'll begin framing the challenges of the digital divide. And right now, across districts and communities, the digital divide continues to shape who has access to opportunities. And this is not just about the hardware and the digital divide of yesterday. This is actually revolving around access of instructional components and the tools and digital literacy that are needed for us to move. We'll talk about the research that frames this divide that I've done in the last few years and community, and we'll discuss communities and how communities without consistent digital access face compounded barriers to education, employment, civic participation. Closing this divide means reimagining equity through access, literacy, and opportunities, making technology a bridge, not just a barrier. So hopefully we will gain some insight and some action steps that we can take to help move the needle. So let's connect OER to equity-centered design. But access isn't enough, right? We already learned that the digital divide has gone beyond that level one. We must also address what people are empowered to do with technology. That's where the open educational resources comes in. OER, it reimagines learning by giving educators the freedom to create, adapt, share instructional materials, and reflect their local contexts and global perspectives. When we link OER to professional learning, we democratize everything. Sorry, open OER are key to the level for equity. And let's look at this. They remove cost barriers for educators and learners, especially in marginalized communities. They allow for customizations and localization, meeting diverse needs of students. And it also empowers educators to co-create, adapt, innovate with equitable learning ecosystems. Here's a case study. This was in New Jersey public school systems. Technology-rich curriculums were redesigned using OER. And this is important because as a director, I led a district-wide initiative for aligning K-9 innovation curriculums, using the New Jersey technology standards along with ISTE standards and design thinking. Our teachers used OER platforms like code.org and Common Sense, just to name a few. to build technology-rich, equitable curriculums. This was possible because it was cost-effective. Not only did they put in all the time, but they didn't have to worry about where to find resources. They would have to pay out of pocket. And by integrating robotics, design thinking, and digital design, we gave every student, regardless of background, access to innovation-driven learning. And today that still stands in this particular district. Another component are case studies that was done through this is a nonprofit. It's called Pathway Self-Directed Education Center, and it gears towards our homeschooled families in the secondary education level. Pathways embody student agency through self-directed learning. Being a nonprofit, again, OER and open access technologies has allowed for it to actually reach various learners without being too cost heavy on a nonprofit. Students collaborate, they do interdisciplinary projects on robotics, entrepreneurship, podcasting, using openly licensed materials to support exploration. And it connects students with mentors. Again, these are volunteers, and it allows them to network globally and illustrate how open access and technology together promote real world readiness. We have students in this particular nonprofit that have graduated with an associate's degree right out of high school and have developed the skill sets to move on into four-year colleges or straight into the workforce with certifications. And this is all made possible through such platforms as you see here. And here goes the meat of how everything has started. And this is through the doctoral research and key findings that doctoral research that I've had. My research has actually examined how public schools districts and public school organizations actually act as catalysts for social mobility by intentionally building partnerships with community organizations, libraries, technology partners. It explores how technology integrates digital literacy and access initiatives and how it can strengthen local learning ecosystems and advance equity and not create a larger digital divide within a community, but actually start to break those barriers. And here's some of the key findings for the research. Districts that have positioned themselves as connectors between school and community resource build sustainable access points for digital equity. And this is important because these young adults and these children who will become young adults are actually going into the workforce ill-equipped with the digital literacy skills that the workforce is demanding. Leadership vision and policy alignment are critical for creating partnerships. And this is something that is ongoing. Superintendents and innovation leaders play a pivotal role in framing technology access as a social responsibility. Community-based professional learning, professional development, rooted at the grassroots of a community, and empower educators to integrate digital tools meaningfully. Teachers who receive these PD tie their students to experiences that are more real world and innovative. Collaborative models such as co-teaching with librarians, community tech mentors, university partners. That was a big one for the nonprofit I had mentioned, and broaden educator perspectives and impact. This is where it begins to make a difference within a community. And equity drivers with OER, it enables co-creation, adaptability. It allows the community to actually have tools in their hands that are not coming out of their pocket, but yet are available readily for them. Districts that embed OER into PD models foster that inclusive digital culture that connects teachers and families. And technology integration for the social mobility component. Access to devices and broadband must be paired with digital literacy, career readiness, and family learning opportunities. The district we have mentioned in the case study actually began to have technology family nights in order to not just equip students for what students are doing in the school, but also to equip families to be able to utilize the same tools for their own benefit. District-led partnerships created pathways to workforce development, post-secondary success, and lifelong learners, which is what we all want. Students in these ecosystems have shown increased confidence in navigating digital tools, civic engagement, and college and career planning. So here's some implications. Four things in my research leads to recommendations for practices. Adopt a community model school that actually integrates technology. That was hard to find. Community schools are usually more grassroots in their sense, but now challenging them to also integrate technology and partnership into social and economic development. Number two, redefine professional learning to include families and community partners as co-learners in the digital space. This will help narrow that digital divide that we sometimes create amongst our own communities. Institutionalize OER use to ensure stability, scalability, and equitable access to resources. And then measure success by mobility indicators, not just test scores, but by engagement, digital participation, and opportunity creation. And that's just some of the recommendations based on the research. And I just wanted to give you a quick overview because the bulk of our time will actually be with everyone creating. So this is a interactive design challenge. I know I went quickly through some of the research. You can ask questions, drop anything you would like in the chat. We're going to actually identify barriers, brainstorm some OER and tech solutions that we can utilize. It'll probably take more than 12 minutes. That's why about maybe 15 minutes to complete. Apply inclusive design and global collaboration, and then share highlights when we get back. We will use the chat to be our main way of communicating. So I'm going to drop a link to a Canva board. Of course, we're talking about technology and open resources. And guess what I have for you guys? Some open resource. And if everybody can go into the Canva, it works as what you used to call a Jamboard. And we're going to put Post-its in and identify some barriers that you can identify with. Not sure if everyone can get in. Are we able to share
I was
the
going to
link?
say, if we're not able to get in, please let me know. I'm actually, Yvette, I'm working on sharing myself, so I'm trying
Okay.
to do the same. But just put it in the chat if you're having any issues, and we'll try to brainstorm with you.
I don't see any messages, so I'm guessing we can get in. I don't see any movement.
I am working on it myself. I lost the tab, to be frank, so I'm looking to make sure that I'm able to add to as well.
Yeah, let me put it in there again.
If you wouldn't mind just noting in the chat if you're having trouble or you're having success, that would be helpful as well.
Oh, I see someone in there.
Great.
And someone says they're having trouble getting in.
It might be a browser thing. I'm on Chrome and it seems to be working, but when I was on Safari, it was not. So I don't know if that's helpful.
Google also works really well.
Okay.
If not, we can always pivot and just do it in the chat.
So Yvette, it is letting me view, it's not letting me add. So maybe if we add the questions in the chat, that could be
Yeah.
helpful.
Gotcha. All right, we can do that. So I'm just going to start adding the questions in here, and I'll show you just because it was so pretty when I made it. All right. So this is where we should have been. And I'll just have everyone share in the chat. If we can start identifying what's standing in the way of equitable professional learning, what barriers can we identify? And we'll just drop them into the chat. Yes, financial barriers. Hence why OER is so beneficial. What are the barriers are standing in the way? And again, just drop them into the chat since we can't get into the, and I'll add them for you, even better.
Educator shortages and turnovers.
Oh, yes, and that retraining all the time.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Thank you. What else are we seeing? What are the barriers?
Prior knowledge of where to find resources for professional learning.
Yes. You guys are in the right spot. Let's go into the next part of this. So we have financial barriers, educator shortages and turnovers, and prior knowledge of where to find resources for professional learning. So how could OER reduce these barriers for you? And I'll drop this in the chat since we can't do, there we go. And just in case you're not sure where to find some resources, I will share this here instead. Here are some resources you can use while you try to work on this question. How could OER reduce this barrier? What free open tools could expand access to professional development? And how might technology connect educators globally to share expertise? As we do this, you're actually taking steps to create an outline for your own model. It's an equity blueprint you're actually creating right now. And I'm sad no one can get in here. This would have been better.
So again, folks, if you could just check out the chat, drop your ideas in the chat. Melissa says OER provides affordable alternatives to address the financial barriers concern.
I also dropped the link in there so you can see some resources that are available. There are so many more resources than people understand. What free open tools could expand? How might this technology help? Oh, we'll do it again. There we go. They cannot see the link.
Um,
Hmm. And you see it, right?
I do. Let's do panelists. See to everyone. Try it one more time. I just changed some permissions.
Gotcha.
Leanne, please let us know if you're able to access the link in the chat now. Hmm.
Oh,
Chat to everyone. Maybe if I do it.
Leanne, are you able to see my screen? Is everybody able to see my screen right now? Perfect. So this is a quick Google search. If you go OER resources for education, you come up with a host of open education resources that are free for use. Oh, you see the link from Mary. Oh, there we go. Okay. It's me. And these are great resources. There's a ton of resources. I'll pinpoint some specific ones after this,
Mm-hmm.
but this will help everyone just to get an idea of what's out there. And if you want to use any of them as you think about how you can utilize these tools. And we'll go back to the question of how might technology connect educators globally? All right, then let's go to our next section. Who might be excluded from this model and how can you design to include them? There's some questions for thought. And since we're doing it on the chat, we'll do this. Hopefully they can see my questions.
So those with limited access to technology. Thanks, Alyssa. Yep.
Thank you. Well, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. How can our model reflect diverse voices? If you're creating a model, how can we do that?
Look at
Yes,
universal design. Yep.
perfect. Yes. Look at culturally responsive technology resources. I like that one. So I'm going to go back to our presentation. There we go. And everybody can see that again, right? Always good to pivot. Technology is not always what you want it to be, but you can always make it what you need it to be.
Right.
So let's bring it forward. What one or two actions can you take to integrate OER into your PD systems? And this is a question for everybody on here. Just throw it in the chat, or can they speak out loud? What one or two actions can you take to integrate OER into your PD systems? And how will you continue to promote equity through open global collaboration? And you can just drop it in the chat.
Huh. Thanks, Leanne. I appreciate that. I'm going to try to work on fixing that setting.
Oh, thank you for that. That makes sense why everybody's so quiet. Will someone let me know when we can see everything? Yes, I like that. Actually, could be sending out a survey to see what the needs are. Gathering data, a survey needs, a needs survey would be amazing. How else can we integrate? How can we take, what one or two actions can you take to integrate OER into your PD systems? Into professional development sessions, yes. Any other ideas? I'm going to go through some. Can they see now?
So if I may, everyone on the chat, forgive me, at the very bottom of the chat, it should say who can see your messages, and you're going to need to click where it says to, and you're going to need to click everyone. If you're not, then it's not coming up for everyone. On our side of things, it shows everyone, at least my side of things. So I want to make sure that everyone's sharing their ideas with the intention of sharing it and actually sharing what they're saying in the chat, because there's a lot of really excellent answers here, and I don't want us to lose that. Interesting. Okay. Thanks, Leanne, for that feedback. I really appreciate it. So in the meantime, Yvette, would you like me to read off of what some of the answers in the chat?
Sure.
Okay. So, Leanne said, action could be sending out a survey to see what the needs are in order to address. R. Farouk said, we could create a shared digital space for OER collaboration, and also incorporate OER into professional settings.
And definitely, I love the create a shared digital space. And I'm going to go through some items for you guys. There's some tools that I'm going to share with you, since someone just mentioned creating a digital space. There's some frameworks and tools. Are any of you familiar with any of these any of these tools or frameworks? And just type them in there. We'll read them out loud. Because we've identified some of the barriers, money being one of the biggest one, and also teacher turnover. So how do you keep staff development going for new staff that comes in? That's a big one. I keep running into districts where they have new staff coming in all year long. So that's a challenge. And these frameworks are great for connecting to open access, innovation, inclusive design into a cohesive professional learning ecosystem. Has anybody encountered any of these or familiar with any of these? We have the ISTE standards. we have design thinking, UNESCO, and we have the SAMR model, which was the first thing we utilized in one of the districts because it was the easiest for teachers to follow along with. And then
I'm
shortly after, go
I'm
ahead.
definitely familiar with design thinking and the SAMR model. I think that those have been very helpful.
And they're easier to bring into the forefront for staff professional development, as where ISTE standards take a little more time to delve into and to unpack, but they're so worth the time. And you definitely want to be able to utilize some of these. So I'm going to go into some of these frameworks so you can kind of see them a little more. SAMR is where everyone can easily start with their staff. It was a model by Dr. Ruben Fuentedura. I hope I said his name right, in 2014, which helps educators evaluate how technology transforms learning. It's not just about using technology, it's about redefining what professional learning could be. So, for example, instead of replacing a handout with a PDF or a Word document where kids would just type in instead of a piece of paper, teachers can collaborate across schools on a shared OER repository or co-create digital content where they could actually use the models for innovation for their students. Which level of SAMR do you think most of your professional learning currently operates in? In substitution, modification, or redefinition? Substitution being just a replacement for what we can do with pencil and paper or an overhead projector. I just dated myself. Instead of doing substitution, think of augmentation, modification. Augmentation being technology acts as a direct substitute with functional improvement. I don't know, for those of you who remember your classroom days in the English class where you would have the peer editing and you would switch papers. Now you can use Google Docs and share with your friends and actually do peer editing with that. That's a slight augmentation, right? Technology that allows for significant task redesigns. How would that look differently if we were to redefine it? And probably collaborate with others across other schools globally or in the state to actually generate ideas and then create a visual presentation of a persuasive essay, for example. Now you're moving into modification redefinition. With that example, which level of SAMR do you think most of your professional learning currently operates in? Where do you think you yourself are or your staff would be? And just drop it in. You could just do a S, A, M, or an R. Oh, augmentation. Where else where some of you place yourselves within this pyramid or stairs? Are you transformation yet, or are you still in enhancement? And Mary says she's an A, she's augmentation. So we're moving up the ladder. Someone else drop in the chat. Are you at a substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition? Just drop in the letter. Leanne, can you drop in something for us? Also an A, but maybe an S. Okay. Most of us, I tend to be an S when I'm using an iPad. It's my notebook. That's all I'm doing is substituting a notebook. How about the rest of the participants? We have about 17 on here. Where would you be at? Where would you like to be in terms of professional development for your staff? Where would you like them to be? All right, let's go. Let's keep going. ISTE standards. ISTE standards are extremely powerful. And thank you. And M, ooh, modification. I just saw that late one come in. That's really good. The ISTE standards for educators, these are the 2022 shift the focus from tech use to purposeful integration. They define what it means for teachers to lead, design, and collaborate in a connected world. When we connect these standards with OER, educators move from consumers of content to creators. And it's something that was pivotal in what I've researched, what I saw at this public school setting, and also in the nonprofit education setting. It's about creating not consumers, but creators and leaders of equitable change. So, which ISTE role do you most identify with? Which ISTE role do you most identify with? Learner, leader, analyst, facilitator, citizen, designer, collaborator. I'd like to put all of them in there if I could. Facilitator and collaborator. Love it. Thank you, Mary. A few. Leanne, yes. Designer, collaborator, facilitator. I want to put in a bunch of them. Where would you place yourself? I would say definitely a learner, facilitator, designer, and collaborator. Oh, look at this. Analyst, a learner. I see learner coming up quite sometimes. Oh, I love this. Where would you like to grow more within this? Which of these roles would you like to grow in a little more? Analyst and citizen. Thank you, Leanne. Citizen. You guys are reading my mind. I think that was mine as well. Designer and leader. Thank you, Alyssa. Ah, and I'll share some of these links later so you guys can actually get into the ISTE standards. You can get them for free. You can look through their standards for teachers, for educators, for students, and for leaders without having to be a member. But being a member has had quite some benefits to it as well. Leader and collaborator. Thank you. Let's see if I drop the link in here. Thank you so much, everyone. And now design thinking. This is pivotal in the sense, if you're in New Jersey, definitely the New Jersey technology standards are completely embedded in design thinking process. It gives educators a structure and a creative approach to solving challenges. When you're designing professional learning or OER initiatives, start with empathy. What do teachers and students need most? Move toward ideation and prototyping your OER designs today. That's your as your first prototype. So in the chat, share one word that describes what educators in your district need most or in your organization need most in their professional learning experience. What do they need most? And you have empathy, define, ideate, prototype, and test. What do they need most? And just type it in the chat. Define. Thank you, Leanne. Sometimes we're all set in different directions. It would be good to have a clear path, at least clear enough to get started and adjust later. Thank you for that share. That's amazing. Thank you. And you can just share one word or that describes what educators in your organization need most in their professional learning experience, and maybe what you might need most. Ideate. Thank you. Anyone else? It could be something you feel you need most as well. Yeah, let's keep going. So open, oh, I just went backwards. I saw, oh, ideate, prototype, and test. Okay. And UNESCO, has anybody heard of the UNESCO framework? They recommend connecting local action to global vision. And my image thing come up. They're quoted as saying open educational resources contribute to building exclusive knowledge, societies, and achieving equitable quality for all. What might global collaboration look like for your organization or your school district? Could your teachers co-develop or share OER across borders? And I'll put the questions in the chat as I say them. What might global collaboration look like? And in the workforce nowadays, you can see how it's important to collaborate globally. My husband works in corporate America, and you often see him time zones, collaborating across multiple areas, either in France, England, going beyond our comfort zone, yes, and reaching out to new people and organizations. That's so important. Thank you, Leanne. How many of you are comfortable actually collaborating virtually? And just do, there we go, global institutional partnerships. Thank you, Alyssa. Could your teachers co-develop or share OER across borders? Are they ready? Are your educators ready? Are you ready? You can answer that question for yourself as well. We're going to look at some open resource platforms that I've used often, and I'll drop some in the link. But first, these platforms bring OER to life. They enable teachers to access, remix, redistribute materials to fit their student needs. So professional learning should mirror this same openness, share, adapt, and innovate. So I'm going to share a couple of these, and you let me know which of these have you actually seen. Anybody familiar with some of these that I'm putting up here? All of them aside from Edmodo. Okay. Oh, Leanne. OER Commons. Okay. Thank you. OpenStax. I do like OpenStax. And I'm going to put in a little of the Edmodo. They've been around for a while. They've been revamped a couple of times. And this is the Edmodo one. We just had a former VP from OpenStack speaking yesterday at day one. Oh, that's awesome. Look at that. And it's one of my favorites. What about Creative Commons? Merlot was one that my son loves to use. He's an educator himself. And he's also an alma mater of Kean University. And I'm just going to put some of these in here in case you want to go searching around. Here are some links for some of these. And Edmodo Classroom was one of my first, and it has come a long way. So just to kind of backtrack a little bit, we're going to go from frameworks to action, right? Each framework we explored connects to one core idea: open, equitable, professional learning. The framework helps us design systems where technology and OER amplify human potential, foster innovation, and connect us globally. And there's so many out there. These are just a few, just to share with everyone. So let's transform ideas into next steps. What 1 to 2 actions will you take to integrate OER, open access tools, into your PD model or some professional development model within your organization? What 1 or 2 things will you take to integrate? And just drop it in the chat and share. And who are going to be your key partners or community connections that can support your equity goals? And lastly, how will you measure the impact on access or educator growth? How will you measure that? Because that's always important. How do we will know that they're actually gaining the skill sets and moving in that SIMR model? Addressing those ISTE standards. Let me drop some of that in here for you guys as well. And if anybody could just drop, what 1 or 2 actions are you going to take? Thank you, Leanne. Leanne said, I love the idea of creating a digital space. We have a LibGuide for OER, but perhaps we can make it more collaborative. We'll also share the resources from this webinar with my colleagues. Thank you, Leanne. And I'm just going to drop some links in here for some of the things that I have mentioned and that I haven't shared yet. And since we are towards the end of the hour already, wow, that goes quick. I'm going to leave this with everyone. Any questions you have, any comments you have, please drop it in the chat so I can answer it for you.
Prajwala's hand is up.
How come I can't see the hands up?
Oh, Prajwal, do you want to type your question in the chat, or can you take yourself off mute? Okay.
Yeah, I see the hand now. Drop your question in the chat if you can't come off mute. Oh, put his hand down. And you can drop any of your questions in the chat. What are one or two takeaways before we end our session that you can drop in the chat? I would appreciate the feedback. And what ways can we connect globally with our resources that you have found works? That was one question. Anybody else questions? All right, Meredith, I guess this is your question only so far. And you can always reach me and email me if something else comes back later on. And that's a great question. It ties directly both to my dissertation and some of the research I've done. And there's quite a few resources that I have found work. In particular would be using the OER Commons hubs. That's been a great way to join global education hubs to publish and remix materials collaboratively. Creative Commons has also been really well received by staff when I go and introduce it to them. It allows educators anywhere to adapt their PD frameworks while giving proper attributes to wherever they take their materials. The key to start is to start local and scale globally. So think about going around local community organizations, local government, and when schools adopt OER, they automatically part of a worldwide community of educators, and they're sharing ideas openly. So platforms like the UNESCO OER, OpenStax, Merlot, iEarn, sorry. How do we ensure that OER resources are reliable and peer reviewed? Actually, that is a great question. One of the ones I shared earlier, OpenStax, is a peer review, and you can actually search for peer review when you do this. Google has been an amazing tool. And some of those reliable platforms, Merlot, OER, I'm looking at my notes, OpenStax. And I didn't give you this one before, which is called Curiki. I'm probably not saying it right, but I will give you this one as well. These are definitely peer reviewed, Alyssa, sorry. Are any other questions? And evaluate the content. You want to be able to do, I got something for you guys. It'll help you. It's achieve.org. They have rubrics for OERs so that you can actually assess them. I just put it in the chat. And they have a ton of free teaching resources as well. And even training materials can be found in this website. I just put it in the chat. It's achieve.org. I gave you the link to the rubrics, but there are much more resources on here, along with training materials. If there are no other questions, I'll remain on for a little while longer. If you have any questions, any comments, I would love to hear your feedback as well. You're very welcome, Leanne.
Yvette, thank you so much for your presentation. It was extremely timely. And I think that I can say for the panelists who I know and many of the folks here, these are resources that many of us have to explore a little bit further, but just knowing about some
Mhm.
of these resources and seeing them in action and the way you modeled how to use the technology in connecting us has been really important.
Thank you.
Anybody else have other questions? Alyssa says, thank you. It was very helpful. And have a great weekend. You too, Alyssa.
You too, Alyssa. I guess that's it.
Well, thank you so much, Yvette. This was really great.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
And thanks everybody for coming.